and the peristalsis. See students, this is the second part of the digestive, and if you haven't watched the video of the first part of the nutrition, please do watch it up, because it will help you out, because there are a lot of reactions which are going to study today. So let's start with the chapter esophagus. So esophagus is popularly called as the food pipe. Okay, this is popularly called as the food pipe. Okay, it is the pipe through which the food is going to get enter, okay, or it is going to get passed through it. So what is esophagus? It's a kind of a tube structure which helps to conduct up the food from the throat to the stomach, okay. It does not provides any, it does not produce any digestive enzymes. See, these enzymes are very important, okay. Why this is important? Because these enzymes helps you to digest up your food. So these are not present in the pipe structure, that is the esophagus. This esophagus, it is not present. But as we are going to study about the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, you will be seeing of these enzymes, okay. Not in large, but in stomach and small intestines. Now we are moving toward a J structure, okay. This is an elastic kind of a bag, okay, and stomach is called as the J-shaped organ. We can see out here, this is the stomach, there is one, see, this is the leading, okay, where the esophagus, okay, where the esophagus gets end. So there is a starting of a new organ called the stomach. See, there is one muscle which is called as the sphincter muscle, okay, sphincter muscles, which is present. What do you mean by sphincter muscles? Sphincter muscle means nothing but a flap kind of a structure, okay. Understand like this. This is a flap kind of a structure. This is the muscles. This muscles always keeps on contract and relaxing, okay. Why this muscle is present, okay, at the end of the esophagus and the start of the stomach? Why this muscle is present? Because it helps to prevent the backflow of the food. Suppose you have eaten up the food which is there in your stomach, so this food should not go back, okay, into your esophagus. If suppose in some of the condition the foods travel back, okay, the food which is present in the stomach travels back, okay, so it goes into the esophagus, and from the esophagus it comes out from your mouth. This term is called as the vomiting, okay, and this term is also called as the antiperistalsis. Antiperistalsis and vomiting is one and the same only, but antiperistalsis is the biological one. So some of a time when you overeat, the food which is present in your stomach travel back to the esophagus, and from esophagus it turns to the mouth. So it should not happen regularly. So that is why there is a muscle present out here which is called as the sphincter muscle, okay. And this, if you want a special name, so cardiac sphincter, okay, the word would be cardiac sphincter, okay, the word would be cardiac sphincter, which is present at the junction between the esophagus and the stomach. And there is one more muscle, okay, one more sphincter muscle which is called as the pyloric, okay. In your text, if you are going to see, they have written the word pylorus. Pylorus and pyloric is one and the same only, okay. Where this pylorus muscle is present, it is present at the opening of the stomach, okay. See, this pylorus is present in the opening of the stomach into the intestine. Means, see, the stomach part is getting ended out here, okay, and from there would be the starting, okay, starting of the small intestine. So end of the stomach and start of the intestine, there is a muscle present called the pyloric sphincter. What is the function of this pyloric sphincter? Okay, it helps to prevent the backflow of the food. So this muscles will help you to prevent from the backflow. What is present inside this stomach? Okay, there is a gastric juice. Okay, gastric juices which are present inside this stomach, and they are highly acidic in nature. Okay, the stomach has the gastric juice called HCl, which helps to kills up any of the germs which enter along with the food. Okay, suppose whenever we eat up the food, so along with that food some of the bacteria also gets enter up. So whenever we eat up the food that enters into the stomach. Okay, so what is present in this stomach? HCl. Okay, and hydrochloric acid is one of the dangerous acids. What is the function of this HCl? To kill up any of the germs which enter into our body with the food. Okay, so where is this stomach located? It is just located below the diaphragm. The word diaphragm you will understand in the respiratory system. Suppose I am going to make up a lung structure. Okay, suppose this is a lung and this is the abdominal part. I mean to say the stomach part. So here there is a muscle, okay, which is nothing but the diaphragm. So there are basically two different types of juices. That is the gastric juices and HCl, which is present inside the stomach. Okay, the name of the enzymes. See students, the name of the enzymes have been started. From here on, there will be a lot of name which will be coming. Enzymes, two types of different enzymes are present, that is the pepsin and the renin. Pepsin and the renin, these are the two different types of enzymes are present. What is the function of this pepsin and what is the function of this renin? This pepsin and renin both works on the proteins. Okay, they both works on the proteins. Let's understand with the more perfection part. See, there is a pepsinogen. Okay, pepsinogen. What is pepsinogen? It's nothing but an enzyme, name of the enzyme, which is inactivated. What is present in our stomach? HCl. So HCl works upon this pepsinogen, inactive pepsinogen, and converts into this pepsin. Okay, when this pepsin get converted, the pepsin starts to work upon these proteins. How? See, now we got our activated form, that is the pepsin. We got the activated form as pepsin, and this is the, and pepsin works on these proteins. The proteins, okay, this pepsin will try to break. Okay, suppose this is the structure. This is the structure of the protein, which is very complex. So this complex structure is going to get break and got convert into the simpler form, which is easily digestible, so which is called the peptides. So you can understand like this, the proteins which were complex got broken down into the smaller form called the peptides. Okay, with the help of the enzyme name called pepsin. Okay, then there is one more, renin. So there are prorenin. HCl will work on this and prorenin will become renin. Okay, now this renin will work on some milk protein. This renin will work on this milk protein and get converted into the paracasein. See, what is the difference between this pepsin and renin? Both of them works on the protein, but both of them works on the different types of the protein. This pepsin works on the protein which is solid in nature. Suppose let's take an example, meat. Okay, meat or any other fleshy part like fish. Okay, so this protein works on this fleshy part, but renin works for the milk part, the liquid part of the protein. Okay, this works for the solid part of the protein and this works for the liquid part of the protein. Function of both are same, that they are going to break the proteins into the simpler form. But how? by acting upon them. See, whenever we eat up food, so the food which gets enter into the stomach, it stays in your stomach for around 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so it attain up the pulp like form called the chyme. What is chyme? See, nothing, the food which we eat, okay, the food plus what is present inside the stomach, chyme, HCl. So this food and HCl mixture is called as the chyme. Okay, food and the HCl part is called as the chyme. Small intestines. What is small intestine? See, we have now, the food was there in the stomach, now it is going to enter into the small intestine. See, in small intestines we are going to learn many of this name of the enzymes. So before starting of the name, let's understand that small intestines have differentiated into 3 parts: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. How to remember? You can remember like any of this thing. DJI. Duodenum. The starting part of the intestine is called duodenum, the middle part is called jejunum, and the last one is called the ileum. Okay, so what is the function of this duodenum? The function of this duodenum is for the digestion. When the food inside the stomach goes into the duodenum, so what happens? It helps to digest. Okay, because your food is digested, so that is why it has been entered into the intestinal part. Then the second part is nothing but the jejunum. What is jejunum? It helps in the transportation part. It helps in the transportation. The food which is digested have been carried forward with this jejunum. And ileum, it is a place where the absorption is going to take place. What do you mean by the word absorption? See, food digested means what? Now it is no more longer in the stomach. Okay, it has been entered into the intestine. And what do you mean by absorption? Absorption means, see, the food should be broken into the so smaller pieces that it should travels into the blood vessels. Suppose this is the blood vessel. Suppose this is the protein. Suppose whenever we eat up the food, so it should be broken down into the so smaller pieces that it should enter into this blood vessels. Okay, very small pieces. It should be broken down into so smaller that it should enter into the blood vessels. Once it try to enter into the blood vessels, then your food get easily absorbed. So ileum is the most important one. Inside the ileum, see, we are going to learn about the different types of the juices also. Okay, different types of the juices also. There are 2 different types of the juice. Okay, one, there is bile juice, and the second, which is their pancreatic juice. Okay, the bile and the pancreatic have been secreted from the duodenum, and there is one more juice called the intestinal juice, second one, which is secreted in the ileum. See, the first juice, that is bile and pancreatic, has been given from the duodenum, and the second juice, that is the intestinal juice, has been given from the ileum part. What is the function of this bile? Okay, what is the function of this bile? And what is the function of this pancreatic? And what is the function of this intestinal? This is very, very, very important. But before moving into there, we will learn about the different we will learn about the ileum. Ileum, it's a kind of a, okay, this is the end part of the small intestine. This is the end part of the small intestine. Inside there is a finger like projection like this, which is called villi, and this villi are nothing but the finger like projection. What is the function of this ileum? As I already said, it helps in the absorption. Okay, it helps in the absorption. Let's have a look toward this structure, how it looks like. This is the structure of a villi. This is the structure of the villi, which will give you a hint. The upper coating is called as the upper coating. This, it is made up of epithelium. We have studied this in the tissue chapter, the word epithelium. Okay, inside that, if we are going to move, there consists of the blood capillaries, that is arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, and there is a third more structure called as the lacteal. Okay, lacteal. What is this lacteal? This lacteal, it's whitish in color. Okay, this is kind of a whitish in color, and this lacteal is consist of the lymph vessel. This lacteal is whitish in color, and this lacteal is consist of the lymph vessel. And what is the function of the lymph vessels? To destroy any of the germs which enters into our body, because it consists of the WBCs. Now we will start with the bile, then the pancreatic juices, intestinal juices. What is bile? Bile is nothing but the yellowish green color fluid. Okay, yellowish green watery fluid, and where this bile is secreted from. This bile is produced from the liver. This bile is present from the liver. So if you notice, this is the hepatic duct. What do you mean by the word hepatic? The word hepatic means liver only. The word hepatic means liver only. Duct means what? The tube structure. Okay, duct means what? The tube structure. And there is one organ called gallbladder. Okay, which is connected with this cystic duct. So why they are called as the duct? Because they appear like a shape of a tube, like this. Okay, so this, okay, from liver and from the gallbladder, they transport up this fluid. Okay, so from liver it leads to hepatic duct, and from gallbladder it leads to cystic duct. When this bile juice, okay, when this bile juice gets combined, see, when the cystic duct and bile hepatic duct gets combined, it is called as the common bile duct. Okay, common bile duct. So one of the juice has been come from the liver, and one of the juice has been come from the cystic duct, and when they were meeting together, they were called as the common bile duct. Now they will try to secrete up this secretion into the direct duodenum. And what is duodenum? Duodenum is nothing but the starting part of the small intestine. Okay, this is the one of the juices, that is the bile, which has been secreted. Now, and the other one would be the pancreas part. But see, this is the pancreas. Where is pancreas located? Pancreas is located behind the stomach. Okay, this is located behind the stomach, and this is the pancreatic duct, which carries up these juices and secretes into this duodenum. Okay, this is the pancreas which carries up this juice and travels into the duodenum. This pores of this secretion, which helps in the digestion of the food. Now, one more thing. As I already mentioned, the color of the bile is yellowish green in color. Why the color of the bile is yellowish green? It's due to the pigments called the biliverdin and bilirubin. These two important names, they are the two important names, biliverdin, okay, and bilirubin. biliverdin and the bilirubin. This, what are this? This are nothing but the pigments. Okay, and how these pigments are formed? See, whenever there is RBCs, okay, what is the color of the RBCs? It is usually red. But whenever they get breakdown, okay, whenever they get dead, whenever they get breakdown or get dead, okay, they produce of this color like greenish yellow color. Okay, so that is why it appears to be a greenish yellow, and this are nothing called as but they are called as the bilirubin and the biliverdin. See the first reaction. See, whenever we eat up the food, okay, it travels into the stomach. What is present in the stomach? HCl. HCl is acidic in nature. So due to this, the food, okay, the food with the help of this HCl forms up the chyme. But this chyme is acidic in nature. Okay, this chyme is acidic in nature. So what is going to happen? If this acid moves into the intestinal, so definitely there would be an irritation that would be caused. So due to this bile and the presence of the sodium bicarbonate, it gets converted into the alkaline. Okay, so acid became alkaline. Why? Due to the presence of the bile and the sodium bicarbonate. And why this happens? In order to neutralize. Okay, we have learned in the chemistry, when an acid reacts with a base, it forms salt and water. This is nothing but the neutralization reaction. See, inside the stomach there was a lot of acids, but due to the presence of this bicarbonate, it got converted into the alkaline, which helps to neutralize. And the second one is the fats. See, fats are one which are not easily digestible. Fats are the one of the substance which are not easily digestible. So what happens with this fat? See, the fats which are present in our body, with the help of this bile, gets converted into emulsified fat. What do you mean by the word emulsified fat? The word emulsified means what? Breakdown. Okay, the fats have been breakdown into the smaller part, not the smallest one. This is the fat molecule, suppose, which is very complex, and now it got breaking down. Okay, so definitely it got more amount of chance to get broken down further, so that it should be easily digestible. Now, pancreatic juices. Okay, we have came into the pancreas. Where these pancreas are located? They are located behind the stomach. So they are basically 3 enzymes. Okay, they are TAL. What are the names? Let's understand first, and then we will complete this part. Trypsin. Okay, amylopsin, and lipase. Lipase, if you notice, is also called as the stepsin. Okay, if you notice, most of the places sin has came, sin. What do you mean by that? The word sin means basically nothing but the enzymes. Okay, when the names are related to enzymes, the word ASE and SIN. Okay, ASE and SIN are related to the enzymes. So these are TAL. T stands for trypsin, A stands for amylopsin, and L stands for lipase. Lipase is also called as the stepsin. So just remember this word TAL. The first, see, we know starch. What is starch? It's a polysaccharide. Polysaccharide means what? It would be large in number like this. Okay, I'm just writing A, but you understand that A means what? Amylopsin. Okay, when this starch, okay, when this amylopsin works upon this starch, it's get converted into maltose. What is maltose? Maltose is nothing but the disaccharide molecules. So just keep this in mind, maltose. Okay, just mark it up. Second, what is the function of the trypsin? Okay, see, we know that part very well. Okay, the trypsin, okay, trypsin will work upon this proteins. Okay, the trypsin will work upon this protein, but the trypsin is not going to work directly. There is trypsinogen. What is trypsinogen? It's an inactivated enzyme. So definitely I have to make it active. So I will make active with the enzyme called enterokinase. So trypsinogen, with the help of this enzyme called enterokinase, got converted into the trypsin. Now, what is the function of this trypsin? It will work upon the proteins. Work upon these proteins to form up the smaller peptides. Okay, proteins and peptides also. So it will help. See, proteins will break down into the smaller peptides, and this larger peptides will convert into the amino acids. So two things we got formed. Due to proteins, smaller peptides are got formed, and that were the and there was some of the peptides. Okay, and there were some of the peptides which were present in this stomach, which have moved further and got converted into the amino acids. And there were we have studied about the emulsified fat. Okay, what is emulsified fat? The breaking down of the bigger molecule of the fatty substance into the smaller one. So this is the smaller one. So definitely, if you can see, so this is quite large only, and I have to break it down. So with the help of this lipase, okay, with the help of this lipase, I am going to break down into fatty acids plus glycerol. What are fatty acids and glycerol? These are nothing but the smallest form of the fats. Okay, they are nothing but the smaller part of the fats. See, first understand carbs, proteins, fats. The smaller parts of the carbs are glucose. The smaller parts of the proteins are the amino acids, and the smaller parts of the fats are the fatty acids or glycerol. Fatty acids or the glycerol. So as of now, there are some of the maltose. Okay, there is maltose which is left. If you notice in the pancreatic juices, there are some of the things which are still need to get broken down. That is the smaller peptides, the maltose, okay, some of the sugars, and some of the fats. Now we are moving into the intestinal juices. Okay, now see, there were the peptides which were left in the earlier reaction. So with the help of the enzyme called peptidase, okay, just put ASE, it get convert into amino acids. Okay, there was maltose which was left. So just remember like this: maltase, OSE, ASE gets converted into glucose, and glucose is the simpler form. Now it won't be able to get broken down anymore. Then there are sugar which is left, sucrose. What is sucrose? It's a disaccharide. Okay, disaccharide made up of the two sugar. So with the help of the sucrase, OSE, ASE, okay, it got converted into glucose plus fructose, and glucose and fructose both are the simple sugar, that is the monosaccharide. Then there is a lactose which is present in the milk. Again, this is a disaccharide. So how to remember the name? Lactase, ASE. Okay, OAC, ASE. So it will get converted into glucose plus galactose. Then there are some of the fats, that is the emulsified fats. Who works on the fats? We have studied, that is the lipase. So it will help you to convert into fatty acids plus glycerol. So this was the overall reaction which happens in the which happens in the bile, which happens in the pancreatic. So if you notice, see, we were in the stomach, then we entered into the duodenum, and from the duodenum we have studied that there are the digestive juices that have been secreted in the duodenum and ileum. The juice which is secreted in the duodenum is the bile, okay, and the second one is the pancreatic juices or the intestinal juices. Okay, in the ileum there would be a secretion of the intestinal juices, and in the duodenum bile and pancreatic is going to take place. Now we will move into the large intestine. But see, if you notice, this whole is the small intestine, but only a smaller portion like this, it's of large intestine. So why we call them as the small intestine and the large intestine? Small intestine is larger in size as compared to the large intestine. So why we have given them the name? Due to the difference in their diameter. If you notice, this is the diameter. This is the diameter of the large intestine, and this is the diameter of the small intestine. Okay, on the difference of the diameter, see, the diameter of the large intestine is larger. The diameter of the large intestine is larger than the small intestine, and this is the diameter of the small intestine. Although small intestine is long, large intestine is small, but due to the difference in the diameter, we have given them the name called the large and the small. It consists of the three part, that is the cecum, colon, rectum. Cecum, colon and rectum. See, mostly the enzymes work in the small intestine only, but as we move into the large intestine, there are no enzymes which get secrete. Okay, so basically we are not going to learn any of the names out here. Okay, it is a place where the absorption of lot of water takes place. Okay, here only the water is going to get digested, not the food. Food we have already studied in the small intestine, and it also helps in the function of the defecation. What do you mean by defecation? See, whenever the food which is remain in the body, which is undigestible, okay, it's get out through the anus. Okay, so defecation means what? Removal of the feces. What do you mean by the word feces? The undigested food. See, how does this looks like? Appendix, colon, rectum. Okay, appendix, colon, rectum. Now what is appendix? See, what is cecum? Cecum is nothing but a small blind pouch. Okay, it's a small blind pouch which is present at the junction between the small and the large. See, when the small intestine gets end, so there is a starting of the large intestine. in between them there is a pouch called the ceque. Okay, and this part is called as the appendix. Why this is called appendix? See, whenever what happens in the case of the appendix, this appendix is situated in the right side. Okay, in the right side of your body. See, when the food which is not get digested, okay, the food which is not get digested get accumulated in this pouch. Okay, this pouch, and due to this there is a paining which is caused on the right hand side of your body. Okay, on the abdomen side. Why? Because there is a one insect called the vermivore appendix. Okay, vermivore appendix, it cause up the paining. Okay, it cause up the paining. So appendix means a condition which is caused on the right side of your body, and basically it has the name called the vermivore appendix. What is vermivore appendix? It's nothing but a worm which is present on the right side of the stomach part. Then the second structure is called the colon. What is colon? See, this is the appendix. This. Okay. This is nothing but the colon part. This part. The part which travels up is called the ascending colon. The part which travels in a straight line, flat, it's called the transverse colon. And the part which is going to go down, it is called the descending colon. Okay, so what is colon? Colon is nothing but it helps to transport of the food, and then it enters into a structure called the rectum. What is a rectum? Rectum is a place where there is a storage, where when the food, okay, see, whenever we eat up the food, so it does not get expelled out of the body directly. It gets stored in your body for a longer period of a time. Okay, so who stores up that food for those time? The anus, this rectum. Okay, what is rectum? Rectum is the place, okay, where the temporary storage of food gets stored. Okay, the food get temporarily stored there. Rectum, it's an organ where the food gets stored temporarily. Okay, and it is accompanied by a sphincter muscles. Suppose this is a rectum, so there is a muscle which is called as the rectum. See, when the rectum bag gets full, so this sphincter muscles get open like this, and the food travels through the anus, and from the anus it gets expelled out of the body. Now, assimilation of the food. Assimilation of food is, it is the conversion. See, it is the conversion of the absorbed digested food into the body material. What is assimilation? It is the conversion of the absorbed digested food into body material. See, whenever we eat up the food, suppose bodybuilders, what is the diet of the bodybuilder? They take in a lot of protein. So as they take a lot of protein, it helps to build up their body. Okay, a fatty person, what does a fatty person eat? A lot of fatty food like ghee, butter, cheese. Okay, so we could easily see that the person eats a lot of fat. So we can easily identify that person with the body language. Okay, whether the person has a muscles or it has the fats. So because we eat the food in that way. Okay, if you eat a lot of protein, the muscles will get developed, but you eat a lot of fat, the fats will get developed around your body. So assimilation is nothing but the conversion of the absorbed digested food into the body material. Body material means what? It helps to grow up your body. Like we need food, why? We need to grow, because now see, into the what can he get easily digested. Okay, glucose. Glucose. And from which foods we get a lot of glucose? Okay, from which food we get a lot of glucose? We get glucose from the carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals. Okay, we get easily glucose from these vitamins, carbohydrates, minerals, etc. There are a lot of names. Okay, and from the smaller pieces like the amino acids and all. So what happens if there is a too much glucose? Okay, if suppose you are eating of the food and the body gets a too much of glucose, so what is the function of this too much glucose? That, see, whenever there is an accumulation of too much glucose in our body, so glucose gets converted into glycogen. What is glycogen? This is nothing but the extra glucose. What is glycogen? Glycogen is nothing but the extra glucose. And where is this extra glucose get stored? This extra glucose gets stored in the liver. Okay. So see, whenever we eat up food, the glucose we need for our body, but some of a time there is too much accumulation of this glucose. So the too much accumulation is called glycogen. And where this glycogen is get stored? It gets stored in the liver. So in case whenever we need of this extra glucose, so from where we are going to get? We are going to get from this glycogen. Okay, we get from this glycogen. So whenever our body needs, now see, glucose can be easily stored in our body, but we won't be able to store up this proteins. Proteins does not stays in your body for a longer period of a time. Okay, it does not get stored. So what is the function? See, what is the function of the proteins? They are considered as the building blocks of the body. Okay, they are considered as the building block. These proteins get broken down into the smaller form that is called the amino acids. Amino acids. So when there is a too much of accumulation, okay, see, when there is an excess amount of the amino acids, when there is a too much amount of the amino acids which get accumulated in the body, okay, where in the body? Exactly in the liver. Exactly in the liver. Okay, exactly in the liver. So this excessive amount of amino acids get broken down. This process is called as the deamination. De means what? Remove or breakdown. And amine means what? Breaking down of the amino acids. So what exactly happens? See, as the amino acids cannot be stored in your body for a longer period of a time. So when there is a too much accumulation of the amino acids into our body, it get broken down. Okay, it get broken down. So where this breaking down is going to happen? Inside the liver. So this process is called the deamination. Okay, so what happened then when this breaking down of the amino acids take place? Okay, so when there is a, see, when the amino acids get break down, it's get convert into a urea, and urea is then move out through the excretion, and the part which is not get excrete out of the body gets converted into glucose, which is easily digestible. So if amino acids gets break down, it's get convert into a urea, and it gets remove out through our body through the feces, but some of the part which is left, of the urea gets converted into the glucose, which can be utilized by the body. So we have studied about the glucose, we have studied about the proteins part. Now the fatty acids. See, fats are the substance, they are the complex substance, they are not easily digestible. So how these fats can be easily get digested? See, there is a villi. In center of the villi there is called the lacteal. Okay, lacteal. What is lacteal? It is consist of the lymph vessels. And what is the function of this lacteal? The function of this lacteal is to absorb the fatty acids and the glycerol. Fatty acids and the glycerol. So what is the function of this lacteal? To absorb the fatty acids and the glycerol. Okay, but some of the time there is a too much accumulation of the fat that takes place. So where this fats goes then? Where does this fats goes then? This fats stays in our body and we can see on the skin. Okay, basically if an excessive quantity of the fats we can see below the skin, because they are some of the indication. Okay, then the last part, that is the liver, which is the largest gland of our body, that is the liver. Okay, and what is the color? It is a reddish organ. Okay, reddish organ because the blood vessels are getting supplied out there, and which is located on the upper right side of the abdomen. Okay, the gut region means the stomach region, and just below the diaphragm. So diaphragm means what? There was the lungs and there were the diaphragm. Okay, and abdominal part means what? Ear, the stomach, intestines, and ear somewhat. Okay, this is nothing but the liver. You can see a perfect structure of this part. See, this is how the livers look like. So thank you students, this was the part 2 of the digestive system chapter.